What if I told you that one of the most beloved comic book characters of the last 3 decades just made an unexpected and jaw-dropping return? And it all started with a joke. Not a reboot, not a remake, not a Hollywood cash grab. A genuine, creator-driven, passion-fueled return that has the entire comic book community buzzing with excitement. We're talking about Hellboy, the big red demon with a stone fist, a love for cats, and a destiny to end the world that he never quite got around to fulfilling. And right now, in 2025, as the character celebrates a milestone that very few comic book creations ever reach, something remarkable is happening in the world of Dark Horse Comics that every fan, old and new, absolutely needs to know about. So if you have ever loved Hellboy, if you have ever picked up one of his comics, watched one of his movies, or even just heard his name and felt a little curious, then stay locked in. Because what we are about to break down for you is not just a new comic book announcement. This is a celebration of legacy, creativity, and the strange and wonderful ways that art takes on a life of its own. This is the full story of Hellboy's unexpected return, what it means for the franchise, and why 2025 might just be the most exciting year in Hellboy history. Before we dive into all the exciting new details, let us take a moment to appreciate just how significant this anniversary actually is. Because 32 years in the comic book world is not a small thing. It is an enormous thing. Hellboy first appeared in 1993, created by the legendary Mike Mignola. And since that very first appearance, the character has grown into something far bigger than anyone could have predicted. Mike Mignola's Hellboy is not your typical superhero. He does not wear a cape. He does not fight crime in a city. He is a half-demon summoned to Earth during World War II by Nazi occultists, adopted by an American professor, and raised as an agent for the Bureau for Paranormal Research and Defense, the BPRD. His world is steeped in folklore, mythology, Lovecraftian horror, and a kind of blue-collar toughness that sets him apart from every other character in comics. He punches monsters. He drinks beer. He loves cats. And deep beneath all of that gruff exterior, he carries the weight of a prophecy that says he will one day bring about the apocalypse. That tension between destiny and free will, between what we are born to be and what we choose to become, is what makes Hellboy more than just a cool-looking character. It is what makes him one of the most emotionally resonant figures in the history of comics. And Mignola has spent 32 years building that world with extraordinary care and dedication. The Hellboy universe expanded massively over those 3 decades. The BPRD spin-off series became its own epic saga. Abe Sapien got his own stories. Lobster Johnson, Witchfinder, Joe Golem. The mythology grew and grew, becoming one of the most cohesive and richly imagined fictional universes in all of comic book history. And then there were the movies. Ron Perlman's iconic portrayal of Hellboy in Guillermo del Toro's 2004 film and its 2008 sequel gave the character a whole new audience. Those films are beloved to this day for their practical effects, their heart, and their sheer weirdness. Even the 2019 reboot, which had its issues, showed that there is always an appetite for more Hellboy in the world. So when we say that 2025 marks the 32nd anniversary of Hellboy's debut, we are not just talking about a number. We're talking about 32 years of monsters, mythology, friendship, grief, apocalypse averted, and one very stubborn demon who refuses to be what the universe tells him to be. That is a legacy worth celebrating. And Dark Horse Comics is doing exactly that, in the most unexpected and delightful way possible. Now here is where the story gets genuinely fascinating. And I mean that, because the origin of what we are about to talk about is one of those rare creative stories that reminds you why art matters and how the best ideas sometimes come from the most unexpected places. Cast your mind back to the early days of 2020. The world had just ground to a halt. The COVID-19 pandemic had arrived, and like so many people around the globe, Mike Mignola found himself at home, isolated, looking for something to do with his hands and his mind. And so he did what he has always done. He drew. During that first year of the pandemic, Mignola began sketching for charity. He was creating drawings to raise money and awareness during an incredibly difficult time for everyone. And somewhere in the middle of all of that, he drew something that made him laugh. He drew Hellboy, but inside a giant robot. A massive, hulking mecha version of everyone's favorite half-demon. It was absurd. It was silly. It was completely at odds with the dark, gothic, mythology-heavy tone that the Hellboy universe is known for. And yet, it was irresistible. That single sketch, born out of boredom and creativity and a desire to bring a little joy into a miserable time, planted a seed. And that seed eventually grew into Giant Robot Hellboy, a limited comic book series released in 2023 that took that one ridiculous concept and ran with it in the most entertaining way imaginable. The story saw Hellboy kidnapped and connected to a massive mecha version of himself for a mysterious mission. It was unexpected, it was zany, it was funny in ways that Hellboy stories almost never are, and fans absolutely loved it. Mignola himself has spoken about how surprised he was by the life that concept took on. And that surprise is something you can feel in every page of the original Giant Robot Hellboy series. There's a looseness to it, a playfulness that you do not always get in the more serious mainline Hellboy stories. It is Mignola and his collaborators having fun, letting their hair down, and giving readers something they did not know they needed. And the response from the comic book community was enthusiastic. Fans embraced the silliness. They loved seeing this iconic character in such an unexpected context. And that love, that genuine enthusiasm from readers, made what comes next feel completely inevitable. Because when a story connects with people like that, you do not let it go. You come back to it. You build on it. And that is exactly what Dark Horse Comics and Mike Mignola are doing right now. Here's the big news. The announcement that sparked this entire conversation, and that has the Hellboy fandom absolutely electric with excitement. Giant Robot Hellboy Returns is coming, and it was revealed exclusively through IGN, which tells you that this is being treated as a major event. Not a quiet release, not a footnote in a publisher's catalog, but a genuine moment in the ongoing life of the Hellboy franchise. So what do we know? Let us break it down piece by piece because every detail here is worth unpacking. First, the creative team. Mignola is back as writer, and Duncan Fegredo is returning as the artist. This pairing matters enormously. Fegredo is one of the most gifted artists ever to work on a Hellboy project. His work has a kinetic energy and expressiveness that brings even the most outlandish concepts to vivid, dynamic life. When Mignola describes watching Fegredo work as pure joy, that is not just marketing speak. Anyone who has read their collaborations knows that these two artists bring out something special in each other. The return of this specific creative team is a huge deal for fans. Second, the release date. Giant Robot Hellboy Returns goes on sale July 22nd from Dark Horse Comics. Mark it in your calendar. That release date is not random either. It falls in the summer, which is prime comic book season, and it is time to capitalize on the energy and enthusiasm generated by Hellboy Day, which we will talk about more in a moment. Third, the story. And this is where things get genuinely exciting. The official solicitation from Dark Horse Comics describes the sequel picking up directly from where the original left off. Scientists are combing the deep sea, searching for any sign of Giant Robot Hellboy after his disappearance at the end of the first series. But what they find down there in the dark, crushing depths of the ocean is something far more terrifying than a missing mecha. There is an interdimensional portal, and that portal is threatening to do one of two things: pull the scientists in or let out monsters of unknown origin. Possibly both. Let that sink in for a second. We are talking about deep-sea horror, interdimensional threats, and the return of a giant robot version of one of comics' most iconic characters. This is a story that takes the inherent silliness of the Giant Robot Hellboy concept and layers genuine stakes on top of it. The ocean is one of the most inherently terrifying settings in all of horror fiction. Vast, dark, cold, and full of things we do not fully understand. Putting that setting together with an interdimensional portal is a masterstroke of genre blending. Fegredo himself offered some tantalizing hints about the original series that give us clues about where the sequel might go. In an interview with CBR, he spoke about the mysterious island at the center of the first story, noting that it may exert unusual effects upon its inhabitants. That is the kind of detail that feels like setup, like Mignola and Fegredo planted something in the first series that is going to pay off in a big and surprising way in the second. The cover art that has been revealed for the upcoming issue shows the Mecha Hellboy underwater, which is already an image that fires the imagination. And preview pages from the interior of the issue tease a disastrous threat lurking in the waters, something dangerous enough to put a crew of scientists in serious jeopardy. This is going to be wild. And if you have not read the original Giant Robot Hellboy series yet, here's the good news. All 3 issues are currently available from Dark Horse. You have time to catch up before July 22nd, and I strongly recommend you do. Because going into Giant Robot Hellboy Returns without the context of the first series would be like watching a sequel without seeing the original. The stories connect directly, and the payoffs are going to be richer if you know the history. Let us talk about Hellboy Day for a moment, because it is a genuinely wonderful tradition that deserves more attention than it typically gets outside of the hardcore comic book community. Every year on March 23rd, Hellboy Day is observed as a celebration of the character and everything he represents. It is a day for fans to come together, for comic book stores to host events, and for Dark Horse Comics to make announcements and release special content. It is the kind of fan-driven tradition that speaks to the deep and lasting connection that readers have with this character and this universe. And this year's Hellboy Day was particularly special. Not only did it come just weeks before the 32nd anniversary of the character's debut, but it came loaded with announcements that made it one of the most significant Hellboy days in recent memory. The Giant Robot Hellboy Returns news was the headline event, the big, splashy announcement that everyone would be talking about. But it was not the only exciting thing to come out of Hellboy Day this year. Dark Horse also revealed another major release that speaks to a completely different side of the Hellboy universe. This October, Dark Horse will be releasing Hellboy and the BPRD, the Ghost Ships of Labrador, and other stories. And if Giant Robot Hellboy Returns represents the playful, experimental, wonderfully weird side of the franchise, then the Ghost Ships of Labrador represents its dark, atmospheric, mythology-rich core. This collection is going to be a treasure trove for longtime fans. It includes both issues of the titular limited series, the Ghost Ships of Labrador, which sounds absolutely chilling just from the name alone. Labrador, the cold, remote, fog-shrouded coast of eastern Canada, is exactly the kind of setting that Hellboy stories thrive in. Remote, isolated, ancient, full of secrets. But the collection does not stop there. It also includes a series of one-shots that each sound fascinating in their own right. Professor Harvey is gone. The Monster Nivela. Hellboy Winter Special. The Yule Cat. Hellboy, the Fortune Teller. Each of these titles evokes a specific mood, a specific corner of Hellboy's world, a specific kind of story. And the publisher has teased that bonus material will also be included, which for serious collectors and fans is always a delightful prospect. What this dual announcement, Giant Robot Hellboy Returns in July and the Ghost Ships of Labrador in October, tells us is that Dark Horse is a genuinely exciting second half of 2025 plan for Hellboy fans. There's something here for every kind of reader. If you love the experimental and the playful, Giant Robot Hellboy Returns is your book. If you love the dark, literary, mythology-steeped core of what Hellboy has always been, the Ghost Ships of Labrador is going to be your book. And if you love Hellboy in all of his many forms, well, then 2025 is simply your year. Let us zoom out for a moment and talk about why all of this matters beyond just the immediate excitement of new comic book releases. Because I think there is something genuinely important happening here that deserves to be recognized and appreciated. We live in an era of franchise fatigue. Superhero movies are everywhere, and audiences are growing tired. Reboots, remakes, legacy sequels. The entertainment industry is obsessed with mining the past for content, often at the expense of genuine creativity. And in that environment, the Hellboy franchise is doing something remarkable. It is aging with grace and intelligence. Think about what Giant Robot Hellboy actually represents. It is Mike Mignola, the creator of this entire universe, taking a sketch he drew during a pandemic to raise money for charity and turning it into a genuine narrative event that connects to the larger mythology he has spent 32 years building. That is not corporate synergy. That is not a studio mandate. That is a creator who genuinely loves his work and is still finding new and unexpected ways to explore it. That kind of creative vitality is rare, and it is something that fans should celebrate loudly and enthusiastically. Because when creators are given the freedom to follow their instincts, to turn a joke into a story, to let a silly sketch become a sequel, to build a universe piece by piece over 3 decades, the result is something that lasts, something that endures. Mignola's quote about Giant Robot Hellboy Returns captures this perfectly. He said that what started as a funny drawing, a joke, has taken on a life of its own. And watching Duncan Fegredo breathe life into it is pure joy. There is something in that statement that goes beyond just talking about a comic book. It is a reminder that the best creative work often starts in unexpected places, that you cannot always predict which ideas are going to matter, that sometimes the thing you drew for fun, the sketch you shared to make people smile during a difficult time, becomes the thing that connects most deeply with an audience. And there is something else worth noting here. Hellboy's story, as a character, is fundamentally about refusing the destiny that the universe has assigned to you, about choosing who you want to be rather than accepting what you were born to be. And in a strange way, Giant Robot Hellboy embodies that same spirit. This is not what anyone expected from the franchise. This is not the serious, dark, mythology-heavy story that defines the mainline Hellboy canon. But it is honest, it is joyful, and it connected with readers in a way that nobody predicted. That is very Hellboy, and it is one of the reasons why this character, 32 years after his debut, still feels vital and exciting and worth talking about. All right, let's get practical for a moment. Because if you're watching this video and you're either a returning Hellboy fan who has been away for a while, or someone who is completely new to the franchise and intrigued by everything we've been talking about, here is exactly what you should do to prepare for the exciting releases coming later this year. Step 1. If you have never read Hellboy before, start with the original Hellboy library editions. Dark Horse has collected the entire main series in gorgeous, oversized hardcover editions, and they're the best way to experience the full scope of what Mignola has created. Start with Seed of Destruction and keep going. You will be hooked within pages, I promise you that. Step 2. Once you have a handle on the main series, or if you're already a fan looking to catch up on the Giant Robot storyline specifically, pick up all 3 issues of the original Giant Robot Hellboy series from Dark Horse. They're all available right now. They are an easy and fun read, and they will set you up perfectly for Giant Robot Hellboy Returns when it drops on July 22nd. Step 3. Keep an eye on Dark Horse Comics for updates on the Ghost Ships of Labrador and other stories, which is targeting an October release. Follow their social channels, sign up for their newsletter, and stay connected to the Hellboy community so you do not miss any additional announcements. Step 4. Celebrate Hellboy Day every year on March 23rd. I am serious about this one. It is a wonderful tradition and the kind of fan community engagement that keeps a franchise alive and vibrant. Your local comic book store may have events, Dark Horse will have announcements, and the broader Hellboy community will be buzzing with enthusiasm. 32 years. Think about that. 32 years since a young comic book creator named Mike Mignola put a big red demon on the page and changed the landscape of the medium forever. 32 years of monsters and mythology, and one ornery half-demon who just refuses to go quietly into the night. And here in 2025, the story is not just continuing, it is growing, evolving, surprising, and delighting in ways that feel genuinely exciting. Giant Robot Hellboy Returns is not just a sequel to a fun limited series. It is proof that great creative properties, when cared for with love and intention, never really stop surprising us. It is proof that the best ideas can start anywhere, even in a sketch drawn during a pandemic lockdown, just to make people smile. And it is proof that Hellboy, 32 years on, still has stories to tell that we have not imagined yet. This is a great time to be a Hellboy fan. This is a great time to become a Hellboy fan. The comics are available, the community is passionate, the creators are energized, and the stories are coming. So do yourself a favor. Pick up those Giant Robot Hellboy issues, get caught up, and be ready for July 22nd. Because something big is rising from the deep sea, and it has a stone fist and a filed-down set of horns, and it is absolutely not here to play around. If you enjoyed this video, do me a solid and hit that like button. It genuinely helps this channel more than you know. Subscribe if you want more deep dives into the comics and stories that deserve more attention than they get. Drop a comment below and let me know, are you a longtime Hellboy fan? Or is this the video that is sending you to pick up your first Hellboy comic? I want to know. Until next time, stay weird, stay curious, and never let the universe tell you who you have to be.